Hi, my name is Alissa. I first got introduced to Central Worship Center about 10 or 11 years ago, but I've been coming regularly for about 6 years now. Growing up, my family, we were raised in a Catholic church. My parents divorced when I was 12 years old. That was pretty hard on my brother and I, just trying to navigate the changes through that. I actually got involved with a church that my dad was attending when I was 13 at a youth rally in Ocean City with the church was when I first gave my life to Christ at an altar call. There were definitely times in my life where I stumbled. 2018, I had just came out of a relationship and I fell into a deep depression, feeling of worthlessness, completely stopped going to church, stopped reading my Bible, and I was just in a really dark place. Later in 2018, I think it was October or November, I had saw Pop or Dale Duke's post on Facebook about the Jamaica mission trip. And I had heard about it in prior years. I just never felt, the pull to go. But for some reason I reached out to him and I asked him if there were any seats left. And he said, actually, one person just backed out and it's yours if you want it. And I knew right then that was, God was telling me it was my time to go. I was just a wreck. I remember going to the church service on that trip and just being so convicted of where I was and how I had turned away from God. I was just sitting by myself in quiet and God just telling me, like, Alissa, like, you're done living in that dark place. That anxiety and the depression, none of that is coming from me. It is all a lie. You're my child and it's time for you to come back to me. And a couple days later, I decided to get baptized. Even when I walked away from him, as soon as I turned back to him, he was right there with his arms wide open. Later that year, I actually met my husband, Rob. We got married in May of 2022, and we had our Layla Jean February of 2023. She has been the best thing to ever happen to me and Rob besides meeting each other. 2024, I had gotten a phone call that my dad was in the hospital. And my brother, called me and he was like, Liz, you should probably come to the emergency room. Dad seems to be in a lot of pain. It was only about an hour after being there that I got a phone call from a surgeon that told me that my dad needed to have emergent surgery, but he wasn't sure that he would make it through the surgery because his case was so bad. And as I fell to my knees in that emergency room looking at my brother, like, how am I supposed to tell my brother this? I remember going to my dad's side and just saying, Dad, you need to have emergent surgery or hospice, and I'd really like if you could tell me what you want to do. I remember my dad looking at me and just saying, Alissa, I have 2 grandbabies that I need to see grow up. I can't die in a hospital. He ended up going for surgery. The doctors came and told us that surgery went okay and that it was better than they expected, but he had a long road ahead of him. One specific night, I had gotten a phone call from my dad's nurse that night, and she said, your dad took a turn for the worse, and I think you should come in. And I remember driving to the hospital and just, crying. I just kind of knew where this was going. And that was the day, June 6th, that we took my dad home on hospice. And he was surrounded by family and friends, and he passed not in a hospital. And I was so thankful to God that I was able to get him home. After he had passed, I definitely had moments of sadness, grief, maybe even some days of anger. I remember going to the altar the first Sunday that I came back after my dad passed, and just going to the altar and Dottie came up and prayed over me, and she said, "What can I pray for?" And I just cried and just said, "I just miss my dad. And I want to sleep again. And I don't want to keep thinking about if I made the wrong decision." The moment I got up from the altar till today, God took it from me. And he told me that he's okay. And none of that, all that weight that was on me, it's no longer there. And I think it's just a strong, reminder for myself, but for others, that he has to be our foundation. He has to be everything that we build off of. Because if we don't have that, if we put something above him like I did, if we put a person above him like I did, we're gonna fall. Losing my dad was hard. But man, I should have just seen God's hand in it all. And I'm just so grateful for that. John 3:30 was really big on my heart, and it's more and more of him and less of me. I got plugged in with the youth ministry, the nursery, and helping with different things in the church. I remember Pastor Mike coming up to me and saying, hey, like, you can't be on too many teams. We don't want people getting wore out. And I said, Pastor Mike, this is right where I need to be. Having Jesus as my foundation has allowed me to come through these battles and through these struggles even stronger, happier, more at peace. He's just amazing. And I'm just thankful that I can look back over all the things I've gone through, and I just see his hand over all of it. My name's Alissa, and it's a great story.
I filled my hands, but my heart was longing for something more, and you called my name, said you